Here we go. I'm gonna throw it out for you. You're gonna throw it. You wanna throw it? Remember how to do it? Put your finger on there. Oh yeah, you're left-handed. Here, hold it. Keep your hand on there. There you go. Don't throw the pole in there. Oh, dude! You're supposed to let go of the pole. Oh my god. Oh, my shoe's stuck. Oh my god. Hey, hey. Through the whole pole. Oh my god, Day Day. Alright guys, I had to go in that nasty water. Here, how about this? I'm gonna throw it for you. Oh my god.
I threw the pole.
That was all bad.
Yo, what's going on YouTube? Alright, so check it out. This song is called Loom by DN_OUX. I'll be leaving all the links down below in the description. Make sure you check it out. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Yeah, buddy.
What's going on YouTube? Alright, so you guys are probably wondering what I'm doing in the workshop. Alright, so my buddy actually owns this Savage Gear Glide. It was wrapped by Realistic Wraps. He let another buddy use it and accidentally hit a wall or a bridge or something like that, and ended up cracking the swim bait. So you can see here it's got a pretty nice crack in it. I believe it is taking in water, which is not good, but we are going to repair this bad boy. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this all set up here. And I actually made this lure holder myself. It's just a piece of wood with some alligator clips and some wire that comes up, and that basically holds the swim bait upright. So this is kind of what you would consider a repair video for hard swim baits. You guys, I'll tell you right now, don't throw your swim baits away, you guys. If you ended up cracking them or doing some type of damage to them like so, this is gonna be a tutorial on how to fix it instead of throwing them away. And it's real simple, it really is. And it's cost efficient. It's not like you have to drop another $30 on a swim bait to repair it. Give me 1 second. So a lot of you are wondering how I'm gonna do this. What materials do you need? Honestly, this is it. This is all you're gonna need right here. The Enviro Tex Light. This is a pour-on epoxy. Everyone's familiar with this. This is basically what you fill when you're sitting at a bar on the bar tables and you feel it has like a real thick coating on it instead of a wood filling. This is what that epoxy is. When I was custom making my own swim baits and stuff, I would actually use this for the epoxy finish. Now you can get different types of epoxies. They have epoxies that people use under UV lights, which basically you just put the epoxy on there and you put a UV light and it dries it up within minutes. I didn't go that route because I didn't know if I was gonna stick with making lures and stuff, and it's probably a good thing I didn't go that route because I ended up not sticking with making lures. Kind of wish I did. It was fun at the time, but I just kind of dropped out of it. I might go back into it. That's one reason I haven't really gotten rid of any of my lure making stuff. I have airbrush gun, airbrush paints, and wood carving tools, and even a drying system. I'll show you guys here. I got a drying system that turns around consistently to keep the epoxy to dry even on some of my other swim baits. And then over here you can see I got my airbrush generator or whatnot. So yeah. But as I stated, this is going to be a hard swim bait video review, how to repair hard swim baits. I haven't seen any of these types of videos on YouTube. There's plenty of soft plastic repair videos on how to mend it and stuff like that. Give me 1 second, I'm gonna go grab all my utensils. I should have already had them on me. Hold on. And this is gonna be a real simple job. I mean, real simple. I'm not even gonna have to do any kind of sanding or any kind of modifications to this swim bait for the fact that it is only cracked on the bottom. And all I gotta do is basically keep it upright. For this, material for the pour on. What you are gonna need is 2 really big syringes, and make sure you label the syringes resin and hardener. You do not want to mix the hardener with the resin in one syringe because it will harden up and you will not be able to use that again. Because this is basically 2-in-1. So what you have is you have the resin, and then it gives you another bottle, which is the hardener. You have to use these, you have to get an equal amount of both placed into one to get it to dry properly for you to be able to have a clear, nice, solid clear coat or hardener instead of it being sticky or tacky. So you have to make sure you get an equal amount of both into one, and then you do a solid mixture. And I'll be doing that for you guys on camera so you can see. And as I stated, this stuff only cost, I think I paid maybe 13 bucks for it or so at, I'm wanting to say it was not Lowe's, I think it was, what is that, Ace Warehouse. And that's where I got this. So yeah, let's go ahead and push this off to the side for a minute. And we're just gonna keep it there. I do need to see if my paintbrush is still good, because as I stated, I haven't used it in I don't even know how long. So my paintbrush is a little bit hard. And what I'm gonna use the paintbrush for is to get a nice coat on that crack. I wanna seal that crack up, and I wanna make sure that it's sealed properly and nicely. So let me get I totally like not prepared for this. I just kind of jumped in the garage and I was just gonna repair it, but I said why not make a video so I can try to help others out. So all you really need is just like a little container like this. I mean, this is something off of like the kids yogurt, and then this has like the M&Ms and stuff in it. So just get one of these and we'll set that down. I'm gonna get the camera view on this like so. And what I'm gonna go ahead and do is get the resin, and I'm only going to use less than a 5 on the resin. So, ooh, this might be stuck. Nope, that's not stuck, we're good. So I'm only gonna go about a 5. Let's see if this is gonna zoom in for me or not. Come on. No? All right, my camera's not gonna work for me. But anyways, that's a 5. I know it's blurry. I have bad light, really bad lighting in here right now. It's not good. But anyways, we're gonna get a 5 of the resin and a 5 of the hardener, and we're gonna mix it inside here. So give me 1 second, let me get this set up. And as I stated, I wasn't really prepared to make a video on this. I was just gonna go ahead and repair it for the buddy, but I figured, you know what? Why not make a video? And as I stated, this gives everybody else an opportunity to learn how to repair their swim baits or their crankbaits or what have you. I'm actually gonna go a little bit less than a 5, just for the fact that the crack is less than, you know, it looks like it's less than 2 inches. So I'm not gonna waste too much of my epoxy. So I went a 1, 2, 3, I went 3 on there. So we're just gonna put the resin inside that little jar. Then I'm gonna clean out my syringe. And then we are gonna get the hardener. Now let me show you guys how I actually did this with my resin and my hardener to be able to get the syringe in there. So we did the resin. Let me put the resin thing away. All right. So what I did basically is drill a little hole on the top of the hardener bottle, just perfectly sized for me to be able to get that syringe in there. And then that gives me the opportunity to be able to hold it like upright like this and get the amount I need. Now I'm gonna get this in the lighting so I can see it. And as I stated, I went a 3. So right there. And it is very, very important to get the right amount, you guys. You wanna make sure you have the identical amount for each resin and for the hardener. If you go too much hardener, it becomes a problem. If you go too much resin, it becomes a problem. You'll end up with a tacky coat. With the coating, it'd be real tacky or sticky, or it'd end up drying and bubbling on you too much. All right, so we got that, and what I like to do is I'm gonna mix this real thoroughly. I have my, like an old paintbrush, just basically just the brush, or not the brush, just the handle area, and I'm gonna mix this real thoroughly. You'll mix it and you'll start to notice bubbles start to form, excuse me. Bubbles will start to form. Why do I keep saying foam? Will start to form. And the way to get rid of those oxygen bubbles is I have a overhang light right here, and I'm gonna place that in the lighting. And that heat, what it'll do is it'll pop those bubbles. It'll get those bubbles to surface. And another thing I like to do as well is once I'm done using this and I have the coating on the lure, I'll also keep that light right above the lure, so that heat will cause those bubbles to rise up and you don't have, you know, a disastrous bubble mess on your lures. It'll cure perfectly. I don't know why I can't talk today, very horribly. I like to make sure that I mix this really good. You know, you want to make sure that you got all these, both the hardener and the resin mixed real thorough. And when I mean thorough, you just got to make sure that it's mixed together evenly and you don't have any of that extra on the top. Because for instance, let's say you get a really good mixture here and then all of a sudden some hardener comes dripping down into it. That'll kind of uneven the mixture. And that can also cause tackiness or real stickiness to the lure when it cures. And you don't want a sticky lure, because what happens with that is you go and throw it into the lake or river. Next thing you know, you got all this sand that has just stuck to the lure, and it's just a mess. It's horrible. So I've learned through trial and error, you guys, I really have. All right, so I got that mixed up, and I'm gonna move the camera around it. You know, I'm really not worried about it. Let me zoom the camera out and let me show you what I mean by having a light. So I have a light here, a little lamp, and what I'm gonna do is just hold that to the lamp and let that heat basically just bubble, get all those bubbles out, you guys. You'll start seeing like the bubbles pop. I usually like leaving it for about 10 minutes, but because this is such a small project, it's not gonna affect it much. So I can see some of like the bubbles popping and some of the bubbles rising out just from the heat from the lamp. Now I do have a different type of bulb in here. I believe it's like the reptile bulb with the UV lights. And it's just something I had laying around the house. I figured why not use it for the garage. And plus it kicks off a little bit more heat. So there's just the lamp there. And I think we're pretty much set. So let's get up on the lure here, the swim bait. And as I stated, you guys, instead of dropping another $30 or just, you know, leaving your lure, you know, out there, this is the way to repair it, you guys. This is the way to save some money. We all use Mendit on soft plastics and stuff like that. And I'm telling you, it really does save you guys money. You know, you don't have to continuously buy new lures and stuff. And another thing, you know, if the paint gets messed up or anything like that, learn how to airbrush or work with paints, and you can basically do restoration back to your lures. So, all right, so I'm getting some of this epoxy on my little brush here. And what I'm gonna do is try not to drip it all over the place for one. And I am going to run that epoxy along that crack. And all I'm doing is basically filling it. Now with this crack being open and taking in water, it will start to suck that epoxy in, which is not a problem because this lure does not have any type of BBs or marbles in it that are gonna cause it, you know, or stop those BBs from making the sound as it would on a, for instance, let's say crankbait or anything in that nature. Anything that has BBs in it to make, you know, rattling for the lure's functionalities. This doesn't have it. It's just a glide bait. and I don't have to worry about, you know, this epoxy getting inside and causing any kind of chaos. So trying to focus and talk at the same time. It's like rubbing my belly and patting my head. I'm horrible at multitasking. All right, so I'm just getting some of that epoxy on there, and I'm gonna get a real smooth coating of that epoxy on there, you guys. I wanna make sure, you know, that it doesn't look garbagey. I want it to look smooth and nice. I should have probably used a better paintbrush, but it is what it is, what I had laying around. So, and I'm just continuously going over it with smooth coats of the epoxy. And I'm going to, this is basically what it's doing, is making a clear coat right over this swim bait. So, and that clear coat will basically water base this and keep it watertight, and I don't have to worry anymore about, you know, water getting inside this lure, and my buddy can fish it freely once again. So, just like so, getting the epoxy on there. I do a bunch of different types of modifications to swim baits and stuff like that. Like, I think I have a video on here doing a modification to the River to Sea S waiver where I chimed off some of the sides so it can get a wider glide. So if you guys are interested in some videos like that, make sure you check out the channel and look for the videos. And then I have an older video that I just haven't uploaded where I did a full out restoration on the Huddleston 68 Special where I accidentally ran over the swim bait and I totally totaled it, and I used Mend It and fixed it up where it's still fishable. So all right, I'm going to get the blow dryer. Give me 1 second, I'm gonna reach over here. And you can see, look how dusty this stuff is. I mean, I haven't been in this garage for a while to do any type of work like this, but I just have a regular blow dryer and I'm gonna run it on hot, on the heat, and get some of that epoxy dried up. Like so. I don't see any cracks on the back. I just see that big solid crack on the front. So I'm gonna continue to get some more epoxy on there. Just dabbing it on there and filling in the cracks. That's it. And I can see the epoxy is actually getting sucked into the crack. So that is a really good thing that it's doing that. Just for the fact that, you know, it's sealing in that gap. Now another thing is when you apply all this epoxy, you want to make sure that it's level, it's even. You do not want to put too much epoxy on one side because it will tamper with the glide of the swim bait. And it'll probably even do the same on any other kind of bait, like a crankbait or what have you. So I know the view is probably really horrible. You guys probably can't see the crack just because the camera lighting is not the best in here right now, but let's see. And this camera doesn't like to zoom in for me. I don't know what the deal is with it. I don't know if it's something with the settings, but if you guys know cameras really well, I have the Nikon Coolplex B500, and if you can tell me what kind of settings to fix on this camera to make it where it zooms in better or the focus, you know, focuses better, let me know down below in the comments, because that would really help me, you guys. I mean, this camera was expensive, and you know, for it to not function properly because of me, if you guys got some help, I'd really appreciate it. So comment down below what kind of settings I can probably use for this camera. So you can see the epoxy is getting really thick on there, and that crack is basically full. If I touch the top layer of that crack, I'm noticing that I'm probably about 2 layers in on epoxy, which is good. But now I just have to make sure that I have an even coat all the way around, and it's not, you know, bulging more on one side. So see, if I could touch it like this, and it's got a solid layer of epoxy on there, to the fact that when I push down, I can see how much of the epoxy is on there. It's not just like a real small thin layer, you guys. I got it really solid on there. And that's gonna give me security knowing that that it's actually gonna hold up really well. So I'm turning the blow dryer back on, excuse me. All right, so let me see how we're looking here. Let me get this lighting down and try to give you guys a view. The epoxy's drying good. I can see the cracks, still sucking in some epoxy in the cracked area. Oh God, this camera's horrible. So it's still sucking in some epoxy, so I'm still gonna put a little bit more, but what I'm gonna actually do is let it dry for a few minutes and then come back to it and put another coat. So stay tuned, guys. So we are back at it, and I let it dry for approximately about 15-20 minutes or so. My epoxy's starting to get more thick, which is good for the last coat, but you don't want it too thick. So I mean, you can see it's starting to have that sticky tackiness to it, to where you know it's drying. And so what I'm gonna do is get me a good layer on my paintbrush, and I'm gonna continuously spin my paintbrush and hold it under the lamp. That way it dries it up a little bit more, makes it a little bit more stickier, and then it basically stick to the second coat. So you can see the crack a little bit better. I was actually messing around with my camera a little bit more, and I lowered the lighting on it. So there's the crack right in the middle. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm not gonna push down, I'm gonna just drag the bead of epoxy over the crack. So I'm just kind of dragging it over the crack, and this is giving it a solid layer. I have the wife right now in the front yard filling up a water jug for me so we can do a water seal test after this is dry, but I do like to let it dry for approximately 24 hours before we do a water test on it. That allows the epoxy to dry properly and seal properly. So I'm holding this under the lamp, and you can see there's the little like epoxy drip, and you can see it's thicker. It's not dripping fast. And then I'm just gonna drag that bead of epoxy over that crack, and it's just basically layering it for a second layer. My first layer, I did do a lot of epoxy. I mean, not a lot, but you know, enough to where I seen that it was not sucking down the crack anymore. And so there we go. I'm gonna hold this over the lamp, let the epoxy dry a little bit on the brush so it's more stickier. And then I'm just gonna drag that bead of epoxy over it, just like that. And get some more epoxy on there. Let it dry. And then run that bead right there on there. So there we go. I'm gonna let that dry up, and I'll bring you guys back in. All right, guys, we are down to the last and final run. This is gonna be the third layer of epoxy, and you can see the epoxy is really sticky now. I mean, that's like honey. That's how I like the last layer to be. I mean, it's literally just like honey. We're about 10 minutes on the second layer, or this is the third layer. I let it dry. The second layer I let dry for about 10 minutes. And you can see the honeyness out of this epoxy. And I won't even run. You know what? What I'm gonna do is get it on my brush, continue to spin my brush in a circle and hold it right under my lamp. Makes it a little bit more tackier and stickier. And then once again, all I'm gonna do is run that bead of epoxy over that crack, just like so. I'm gonna get it, spin my brush, hold it under the lamp, and run that. Once that bead starts to drip, I'll run that bead right over that crack. And what that does too is, for the fact that the first layer and the second layer is sticky or still soft, I don't want to push my brush into that, because then I'll end up leaving a nasty indent with the epoxy. So that's one reason I let it drip like a bead, and then I just let that bead run right over that crack. So there you go. I'm gonna start from about the middle, let that bead drip, and just run it right over that crack. And I don't even need to like smear it on there. Once I drop that bead on there, it kind of levels out with the surface. It kind of just droops down. And if your crack is like how mine is, well, how my friend's is on here, you want to make sure you know that it's level. You don't want it, you know, hanging off further to one side or the swim bait to the side or any of that. You want to make sure it's flat, completely flat. That way the epoxy will level out properly. So there we go, got another bead, gonna hold it under the lamp, and this is gonna be the last bit of it. And then I'm just gonna run that, let that drip like a little bead. As you can see, that little bead right under the paintbrush, and I'm just gonna drag that bead right over that crack. So I got a little bit too much on that part right there, because I can see it like dripping. See there, now it evened out. And I'm gonna get a little bit more. I'm still gonna do a little bit more here on the back, just because in the back the crack's a little bit more thicker and wider. So here we go, just like that. And that epoxy just lays right down on it. So I think we're pretty set on that, you guys. I think this is gonna be the end of it here. A little bit more. I'm not even gonna hold this one under the lamp. I'm just gonna drag it right over that crack and let it just even out, just like so. And then what I'm gonna do here, since my little wood contraption that holds my swim baits doesn't sit flush, what I have is a little weight like this, little hand weight, and I'm just gonna lay that right on the top, and that's just gonna keep everything even, you guys. So there it is. That is how to repair a swim bait, guys. And I'm telling you, this will save you money, trust me. And you might, you know, think, hey, I don't need that much epoxy. They do sell, you know, the 5-minute Gorilla Glue epoxy and stuff like that. So, and that stuff works good too. It's the same method. I just went with this bigger ordeal because I was, you know, trying to make fishing lures and things like that. So you can buy the little 5-minute epoxy that comes in a little handheld where you push both of the hardener and softener out at the same time, and then you mix it. You can use that kind on these hard lures too, you guys. It'll work. So it doesn't exactly have to be this brand that I have. And then simple tools. You know, everybody's got a little paintbrush laying around the house or something like that. And as I stated, these little jars you can just get from, you know, like a yogurt, or you can even use the tip or the cap of a soda. So yeah, buddy, hope this video will help you guys save some money. Don't throw away your guys' swim baits. If you guys crack them and stuff like that and you don't want to do this, shoot, send me your guys' swim baits and crankbaits and I'll fix them up. You know what I mean? I'll fix them up for myself and fish with them. And then I'll give you a shout out or whatever in my videos or whatever you want. So yeah, pretty cool ordeal. Really easy to do, you guys. Saves you a $30 swim bait. Some people are breaking, you know, $40, $50 swim baits and just throwing them away. Don't do it. Here's a way to fix them. Much love. I'm up and out. Smash that thumbs up, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace out. Alright guys, so this is day two on the swim bait, the Savage Gear Glide. The crack is completely sealed, as you can probably see. Hopefully you can see that. So yeah, this is completely sealed with the epoxy, you guys. I put the hook back on. I did notice another crack, which was here. This thing must have really hit the wall when it got casted out, because there was one solid crack here and one crack all the way down the seam here. I did epoxy this, but I gave it a very minimal amount of epoxy. I didn't do too much, and then I did a light sanding because that crack didn't seem too bad, and I didn't notice any bubbles when I placed it into the water tank. So I just want to show you guys the drop ratio on it. It doesn't change it up too much. However, epoxy is a little more buoyant, so this will sink a little bit more slower. Without the hook, it actually floats. So those hook weights actually give it a little bit more weight to it to allow it to drop. So I did notice that without the hooks, it was a little bit more buoyant, but it shouldn't affect the swimming action on it at all. So let's go ahead and drop this in slow, and I'll just show you guys the rate of fall on there. And it should sit right on top of those hooks just like it is. So let me get you guys zoomed in on this. And let me get the lighting for you guys. I'm gonna try not to touch this light in the water. But you can see it's sitting right on top of those hooks. It's not folding the hooks down. It's sitting basically straight upright. So that is a definitely good thing. That allows me to know that the buoyancy is even and it's not making that bait fall off like to the sides or not. So you can see the buoyancy on it. It's right on top of the hooks, you guys. This is only about maybe a foot of water, 2 feet of water or so. So there's the hooks on there, and we'll drop it in one more time, and you can see the rate of fall is decent. It's not fast, and the bait is sitting upright. It's not leaning to the left or too much to the right. So that is definitely a good upgrade for this swim bait. It's definitely a good recovery for it. So it's definitely fixed. So yeah, buddy, that's how you guys do it, man. Much love and respects. Thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. If you guys got any questions on repairs, let me know. And then, as I stated, if you guys have any swim baits or anything like that that's damaged, you're just gonna throw them away, I'll take them. If you don't want them, I'll take them. And then if you got something you would like me to try to repair for you, as long as you pay the return shipping, you can ship it to me and I'll fix it up for you guys and ship it back. You know, I'll do what I can do. I'll do my best on it, even if I have to do some research on different types of baits. But $30 bait right there. These might even run a little bit more. I think the Savage Gear glides under this size is running about 30 bucks. So, but as I stated, a lot of people are breaking $40 to $80 hard swim baits and not being able to repair them, and they're losing out on their money. So that is definitely an upgraded repair. And then another thing I wanted to mention is if you're looking for anybody to do any type of wraps to like swim baits and stuff such as this, you won't find this color in Savage Gear. This is actually a wrapped Savage Gear by Realistic Wraps. Check out Realistic Wraps on Instagram, you guys. This dude is awesome. He wraps just about anything. Crankbaits, jerk baits, swim baits, all the way up to depths 250s, you name it, he can do it, you guys. He does some phenomenal wraps on swim baits, and look at the realisticness of this. It looks awesome. So that sums it up. I'm up and out. Much love and respects, and peace.